Excellent. Um, cool. Thank you, everybody. I've introduced myself, so we'll just track in to have a look at fishing licenses and sales and why it matters. Can you click onto the next slide, Alex, please? Brilliant. I know everybody on this call will know what the license is. It's a legal requirement to enable people to fish in England and Wales, subject to conditions on the license, predominantly the number of rods you can use, and subject to local bylaws and permissions from the fishery owner. Having a license requires us to enforce it, to make sure that people comply with the legislation and don't reduce the benefits to everybody else by dodging the payment. And last year we checked over 61,000 anglers, and we successfully prosecuted over 1,600. It's important to note that some of those anglers won't have been checked that year, some will have been checked the year before, and equally people who are checked this year might not get prosecuted until next year if they're fishing without a license, simply because of the time it takes to go through the legal processes to get somebody into court. But it still happens. If somebody is caught without a license, then we do look to prosecute. The most important thing about the license for our point of view at the Environment Agency is that it provides the funds we need to enable us to undertake the fisheries service that anglers tell us they want us to, and that the law requires us to do. It's technically referred to as a hypothecated tax, which means that the money doesn't go to Treasury, which it could do. Instead, it comes back to us, and we're required to spend it to the benefit of the people who pay, i.e. anglers and yourselves. So it's really important to us that we maintain income. Next slide, please, Alex. This chart shows where we are in terms of license sales and income. The blue columns are the amount of money we raise each year, and the blue line across the top is the number of individual licenses that we sell. And hopefully you can see from this that from 2000 through to 2010, we enjoyed a period of steady growth in both the number of licenses and the income we raised. From 2010, though, things started to go into decline. I don't know if you remember, but 2010 was the year that the coalition government came in and introduced the word austerity. And that meant we weren't able to do anything about increasing prices for a long time, amongst other things. But even despite that, license sales and income declined until 2017, where you can see there was a spike in income. That was purely down to the fact that we were able that year to increase the license duty, and it went from £27 to £30 for a standard coarse fishing 2-rod license. But worryingly for us, the underlying pattern of license sales was still declining, and income continued to decline after 2017. Can we move to the next slide, Alex? Thanks. Now, it's important for us, certainly at the Environment Agency, to understand what's happening behind that. And license sales are different from the number of people actually buying a license. If you think about it, somebody could buy an annual license and it counts as one license sale. Somebody might only go fishing 5 or 6 times in a year and buy 5 or 6 one-day licenses, and that counts as 5 or 6 on the license sales chart. So what we've done here is look at the number of actual people. So if you are one of those people who bought 5 or 6 licenses, you only count as 1 on this chart. It's important to understand the difference. And you can see from this that from 2014 through to 2019, we had a significant decline in the number of individuals buying licenses. We went from nearly 1 million people down to less than 850,000, and that is quite serious. But then, as Alex said, we did see last year in 2020 a significant increase in the number of people buying licenses and getting out on the bank. And what we think is that a lot of people who were perhaps furloughed last year suddenly had a lot more time on their hand. So people who'd been fishing previously went into the garage, dug out their kits, dusted it all off, and went fishing again. But we've also had quite a lot of anecdotal feedback from fishery owners and tackle shops that there were a lot of people starting fishing, going out and getting the cheaper beginners kits and going out to the bank side and learning. And what was really good to see was the way that they were made to feel really welcome by fishery owners and by tackle shops who were trying to help people. And we hoped that a lot of those people would stay fishing this year. But as you can see from the red line at the end of the graph, they haven't. It's not quite as bad as it looks yet because we haven't finished selling licenses for the 21-22 year. So that bottom point will move upwards, but we'll still have lost a significant number of people who tried fishing last year, perhaps for the first time. Can you click again, please, Alex? It's not as bad. Oh, can you go back one, Alex? Thanks. It's not quite as bad as it sounds. If we look at the number of individual people buying licenses at the end of October this year in 2021 compared to 2019, so ignoring the what I call the COVID spike, what we found is that there has been a slight increase. It is only slight. It's actually it's 5,709 more anglers at the end of this October than in 2019. But when you think that it is the first time in over a decade when we've seen any increase at all, it gives us a little bit of hope. And it suggests that what we're doing is having something of an impact. But we also need to look to the future. Can you click again, please, Alex? Thank you. And what we see here is an age breakdown of the people who are buying those licenses. So if you look at the top, each column is a year, and the coloured sections represent different age groups, with the older anglers being at the top and the younger age groups being at the bottom. And what we see is that the proportion of older anglers is getting bigger and the proportion of younger anglers is getting smaller. So in effect, what we have is an aging angling population. And the problem that brings is that older anglers will stop fishing at some point in the near future, well, relatively near future. People get old, they get infirm, they become ill, less able to do things. And not to put too fine a point on it, older anglers, and I include myself in that, will unfortunately pass away. And what's happening at the moment is that we're getting more and more older anglers as a proportion of the population and not bringing in new people. So the numbers will decline going into the future. How much is hard to say, but it will mean less people joining clubs, less people buying day tickets, less people buying fishing shops, unless something is sort of done to stop that. So it clearly matters across the industry that license sales are falling. But to the average angler, what difference does it make? Next slide, please, Alex. And it's important to understand what the rod license income we raise buys. These figures are taken from 2019 because, again, 2020 was very unusual in what we could deliver due to COVID. But as a representation of an ordinary year, this is pretty good. And we responded to over 300 incidents of dead and dying fish in England. These figures don't cover Wales, by the way. We carried out over 1,500 fish stock surveys, and they're really important to help us understand the health of fish populations and to target resources so that we know where to do habitat improvements or fish stockings and the like. And in 2019, and indeed last year, we stocked over 500,000 coarse fish that we reared at our fish farm in Calverton. And that's something a lot of anglers like to see, and it makes a big difference for us. We also built 58 fish pass solutions in a year, which is quite astounding, and is done because we can work in partnership and attract other funds. But fish passes and fish passage issues are not the preserve of salmon fisheries, as many people seem to think. We know that all coarse fish species, from little minnow all the way through to barbel and chub and the like, need to migrate within a system at some point during the year and during their life cycles. So all our fish passes are made where we try and accommodate all the species in any given river. And they range from the big technical solutions where you see the big concrete fish passes built into a weir that cost an absolute arm and a leg, to much cheaper but still effective solutions such as pinning baffles to the face of a weir or digging a bypass channel around the side. Or the best one, actually the one that I think is the best option wherever we can do it, is to remove a weir in total and return the river much more to its natural state. And that allows fish populations to behave as you would expect them to, which will always do better than artificially managed. And it gives the fish populations a chance to thrive. But as I said, some of this costs an awful lot of money. And so we work with partners to deliver a lot of the work. And we actually worked with over 2,000 partners, ranging from organisations like the Angling Trust through to individual clubs and fishery owners, to improve facilities, to improve habitat, and to improve access, boosting opportunities for people to go fishing. So obviously, if we lose income from rod licence sales, our ability to do any of this work reduces. And if it reduces enough, then we start to enter a world of real problems. Can you click again, please, Alex? Of course, it's not just the work that the Environment Agency does directly through rod licence income. We use a lot of the money to fund partners, which means that we can do things more effectively. We get a much bigger reach, and we can attract funding that we wouldn't otherwise be able to inject into angling and fisheries improvements. The big one, obviously, is the Angling Trust as the governing body for angling. And we work with them. They deliver our National Angling Strategic Services contract, and that covers things like the voluntary bailiff scheme, which vastly improves the amount of intelligence that we gather, and they provide opportunities to do joint patrols with themselves and the police, making our enforcement activity a lot more targeted and a lot more effective. We work with groups, and these are just a small example, but maybe the bigger ones. We work with groups like the Canal and Rivers Trust and the Angling Trades Association, particularly working on providing more opportunities for people to learn fishing and learn to love it. And we work with organisations like the Rivers Trust or the Wild Trout Trust to deliver environmental habitat improvements, boosting stocks as a result, and increasing angling opportunities. And again, if licence income reduces, the amount that we can deliver through these partners will reduce as well. Next slide, please, Alex. Thanks, mate. So that begs the question then. We know we've got problems lining up in the future with an ageing angling demographic. We're seeing sales and participation drop anyway. So what are we doing to try and improve the situation? One of the things that I actually found quite surprising, because I perhaps just assumed that everybody knows that you need a license, but research that we did showed that there are a group of people out there who genuinely did not know that they needed to buy one, or if they once they'd been told, they didn't understand why and what benefit they got from buying it. It's particularly with the younger groups. I think most people who've been fishing for any length of time know the need, although maybe not the benefits. So one of the things we have to do is ensure that everybody understands the position. And again, with partners, we do a lot to put that out into the media or the social media, and we do a newsletter every month to people who opt into receiving it to demonstrate what the license money is spent on. But at the end of the day, that is working with existing anglers to help them understand the needs and the consequences of not buying a license. If we're going to succeed in bringing more people into the sport, we need to raise the public profile of fishing. And it's fair to say, I think, that while we all understand and enjoy and know what sport's about, there's a huge swathe of the population where it's not even on their radar. It's never occurred to them that fishing is an opportunity or that fishing is a really positive force within the countryside, particularly. And so we've put a lot of effort into PR, more for the sport than angling, than buying a license, because the only thing that will make somebody buy a license is if they go fishing. And we have had a lot of success across all our partners. Fishing has featured on things like the One Show on BBC One, and it's been mentioned on breakfast television. We've managed to get a lot of pieces about fishing into national and local radio, into print media, the national newspapers, local newspapers, and various magazines. We had a really good piece this year in Woman magazine, showing the benefits that angling can bring to women who are very underrepresented in the sport. Having sold the sport, showing the benefits and the good it can do, we then need to promote angling opportunities to a new audience. And our research has shown that there are groups of people who are more likely to engage with angling than not. And using modern social media and the algorithms behind it, we can target communication to those groups who are most likely to engage. And that's not putting things out on the Environment Agency website or the Trust's website, although we do all that to talk to existing anglers. It's reaching people who aren't going looking for angling that's really important. People who haven't thought about it, but once they've seen what it can do and know what opportunities they can engage in, are likely to give it a go and hopefully learn to love the sport like we do. Of course, the partner that's most important in a lot of that is the angling clubs and the fishery owners, yourselves, and others, who actually provide the facilities for people to try fishing, to go fishing. And while we try and work with a lot of individuals, we can't do it for everybody, but what we can do is help promote the sport and promote fisheries and fishing opportunities. And we currently provide things like posters, web banners, and images like the one on the right of the screen, which we produced this year and has gone down well from what we understand. So we do all that, and we can engage and support promotion and media. And we'd really, really like to understand what people want from us to enable us to do that. So it'd be really good if people can come forward with thoughts and ideas and talk to us and talk to our partners as well. So the Angling Trust and everybody else, we all talk to each other all the time. And this issue for us about increasing participation, strengthening the sport and strengthening the resources we can put back into it, it's a really big thing for us. So any thoughts, please, either today or at a later point, let us know what you would like from us. And I think at that point, hopefully I've explained why the license is important for everybody, both in the industry direct and as individual anglers. So I'll call it quits there and say thank you very much, and thanks to the Angling Trust for asking me along. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Steve. Now, that was incredibly insightful and leads us perfectly on to James's segment, which I'll play in a second. So if anybody's got any questions for Steve, please do get them into us now, and we'll follow up as soon as James's presentation has run as well.
Good evening, everyone. My name's James Roach, and I'm the Angling Development Manager for the Angling Trust. What I wanted to do this evening was just give you a bit of an overview, a bit of insight into our Get Fishing campaign and some of the work that we're doing all over the country to get more people fishing and ultimately more people going on to buying a fishing licence. So as I mentioned, I'm just going to give a fairly sort of simple overview as to what the Get Fishing campaign is all about, some of the impacts that we've had through the campaign, and some of the successes as well around the work that we've done to get more people fishing, more people going on to buying a fishing licence, and really marketing our sport to non-angling people, which is a really vital piece of the work that is captured in the Get Fishing campaign.
The Get Fishing campaign is the Angling Trust campaign to get more people fishing more often. Each year, we introduce thousands and thousands of people into angling at hundreds of events all around England. It's something we're very proud of here at the Angling Trust. But don't take our word for it. Let's hear from a few families that have attended events in the last couple of months.
What previous events have you been to?
Oh, we've been up to one at Ringwood, and we went to Longbridge, been to a few lakes, and the children have just enjoyed it so much. It's just such a great thing for us because for some reason they've shown an interest in fishing, and I wouldn't have a clue where to start. So it means we get to go out and experience it with an expert, and it's just a really wonderful family experience that we always have together.
So we're hoping to try and catch our first ever fish?
Yeah.
Do you reckon you're going to get one?
Yes.
You're going to catch a big fish or a small fish?
I reckon that big.
That big? How big's your one going to be? Whoa!
I think she wants a very, very big fish.
Are we happy with your first fish?
Put your hands down a little bit. That's better. There you go.
You need to go back.
There we go, you put it back in.
Back in carefully.
Nice and that's it, good girl.
Girl.
Well done. There we go. Well done, you. Did you have a nice day?
Yeah, I had a lovely day.
Did you catch a fish?
I caught two.
Did you? Was there another fish that I missed?
Yeah, there was.
What was it? Do you know?
It was a bass, and Daddy spiked his fingers on it.
Oh no, you're all right, Daddy. Have you survived?
Just about still alive. Just took me by surprise.
But well done. You've done brilliantly today.
Thank you.
And there we go. You've got something.
Let's see.
How many crabs have you got?
7.
How many do you think you're going to get?
50.
If you would like more information on the Get Fishing campaign, head over to anglingtrust.net/getfishing, and don't forget to like our social media pages.
So as you can see from the video, the Get Fishing campaign encompasses all forms of angling, whether that's sea, coarse or game angling, but we're just going to focus on freshwater fishing this evening. Now, the campaign itself is funded by the Environment Agency through fishing licence income as part of the National Angling Strategic Services contract, and it's also funded by Sport England as well. On top of that, we received some commercial support through both the Angling Direct and Shakespeare as well. And the big thing about the Get Fishing campaign is it brings together organisations from all over the country, whether that's big national partners such as Get Hooked on Fishing and the Canal Rivers Trust, all the way through to local angling clubs and fisheries. And by working together, working collectively in partnership, we're able to have a much bigger impact rather than organisations working in little silos, doing their own little thing. By working together, we can have a bigger impact on getting more people into fishing and more people going on to purchase a fishing licence. The campaign has two main areas of focus, event delivery campaign and a focus on marketing and communications as well. So as you can imagine, the event delivery focus really does provide that opportunity for people to come along and try fishing for the first time. What we've found is a real focus on a simple introduction to angling and using very basic equipment and showcasing that angling is a really easy activity for anyone to get involved in. It just works really well. And these events are delivered all over the country through people that I've mentioned previously, like Get Hooked on Fishing, Canal Rivers Trust, angling clubs, volunteers, coaches and fisheries as well. And that sort of predominant audience tends to be family groups. And what we have is a number of resources that we can provide to organisations that are looking to deliver these sort of events. So we have a delivery model called the Get Fishing Awards, which we've developed over the last 18 months or so, which has proved really, really popular, really successful in helping get an individual sort of going fishing, trying for the fishing for the first time, and then encouraging them to put the equipment together and fishing a little bit more independently. And that's based over a delivery of 3 sessions. And the focus of this event delivery is encouraging people to be able to fish on their own. And that's what we want to do. We want to create anglers rather than people that are just trying for fishing for the first time and not likely to keep on going. So I mentioned the sort of resources that we can provide, like the Get Fishing Award delivery model. We also provide advice and guidance on things like health and safety, so risk assessments, things like that, as well as working with children and young people and safeguarding as well, which is a real consideration, important consideration from our point of view. And we just want to make sure that events are delivered in a safe way so that everyone taking part can enjoy them, whether that's a volunteer from an angling club or someone coming along to try fishing for the first time. We want to make sure that everyone has a really enjoyable experience at these events. So these two images perfectly highlight what the event delivery sort of looks like. You can see the Get Fishing Award certificates there, which we can provide free to any club or fishery to provide that sort of model for to encourage people to get into fishing. And also on the other side as well, we're that family focus, so encouraging the whole family to come down and try fishing rather than just a young person. And we just find that really, really helps in encouraging people to keep on going fishing. If you can get the parents involved and you can highlight that you don't need to spend a lot of money on kit, you can get fishing kit really easily. It's not expensive and it's a simple activity in terms of putting things together. It's not complicated in any way. It's not difficult and anyone can do it. We find that really successful in encouraging people to come back on a regular basis, and again focus on encouraging people to become anglers rather than people that try it once and don't come back into a sport, which we want to avoid completely. So event delivery campaign, over the course of a year, it will engage around 38,000 people, and that's events delivered by our partners all over the country. Obviously over the past year or so it's been heavily affected by the coronavirus pandemic, but we're hopeful that moving into 2022 we can have a real impact on the number of people coming into fishing through these events. And just to highlight the website as well, there's loads more information on the website about these events and where they're taking place. Although I would say that the vast majority of these activities tend to take place between the end of March and end of October, which, as you can imagine, where the weather is slightly better and a bit more predictable than when it is during the winter time. So just moving on to sort of the marketing communications approach, that focus is almost broken into two areas. So talking to people after they've attended one of the events that I've just mentioned, and then work to try and influence people that don't go fishing at the moment and encourage them to engage within angling, which is a real key piece of the work, a vital piece of the work that we need to do if we want to try and grow our sport of angling. So what I mean by talking to people that have attended the events is that the collection of contact information of people that attended the events is a really key important thing for us. Like our clubs and fisheries and partners that we work with do a fantastic job in collecting some very basic, very simple contact information. That information allows us to contact people after they've attended the event with information about fishing licenses. Because obviously, if you want to go fishing in freshwater in this country and you're aged over 13, by law you need to have a fishing license, which is a really important message we need to push within people that are just coming into our sport. Also, it gives us the opportunity to highlight opportunities of other events taking place locally, as well as hints and tips to keep people fishing, and information on local venues and local angling clubs that people can engage with to keep them within the sport. And this all forms part of our sort of strategy and strategic approach to trying to keep people fishing, keep them within the sport, rather than that, as I've mentioned previously, that focus of someone coming along to an event, catching a fish, and then never engaging with an angling again, which is something we want to avoid. So this sort of moves us on to a key part of the work that the marketing and communications team do within the Get Fishing team, and that's trying to influence a non-angling audience. So whether that's influencing them to engage with an event and book on to attend an event, or subscribe to one of our social media sort of channels, or engage with one of our posts. It's a really key piece of work, and what a lot of the work we do is based around targeting these messages at key audiences. So the marketing team build audiences to focus messages on and messages to, and the family audience is massive for us, and in particular encouraging and trying to influence sort of mothers in particular. They are the key decision maker within the family group, so if we can encourage them to sort of engage within angling, they're the person that tends to book what happens at the weekends or during the summer holidays. So we need to use relatable images and really showcase angling as an activity that anyone can do, and showcase it as a fantastic activity that the whole family can get involved in and enjoy as well. And that's where we can start getting new people into angling and giving them the opportunity to get involved in fishing. So, example of a couple of campaigns recently. We've got Take a Brand Fishing, which ran over pretty much through the summer, so middle of probably, I think it was August to sort of September time. And this is again a partnership approach between ourselves, the Angling Trades Association, and the Environment Agency. It's a very, really simple campaign which just focuses on encouraging existing anglers to take someone they know fishing. As part of that process, they're able to register for a free one-day fishing license to take that person fishing. Through this campaign, we engaged, I think it was just over 2,000 people that registered to take part, which was a really positive outcome for us. And again, we got some really good exposure from it as well to anglers, and again showcasing what angling's all about through messages from people like Bob Mortimer and Paul Whitehouse, and our own Jimmy Willis, our marketing manager. And just through 2 videos we've had over 180,000 views, which I think is a really positive outcome when it comes to a campaign like this. It just gives us a bit of focus that we can drive during the summer holidays, in conjunction with the event delivery, which is obviously during the summer holidays is a key focus, with lots of events taking place all over the country. So second sort of campaign, just to highlight, is National Fishing Month. And again, it's a campaign between ourselves, Angling Trades Association, and the Environment Agency, and it's all about celebrating what angling's all about. I mean, National Fishing Month's been around for decades, been around for a long time. It was relaunched this summer, and work to evolve it is already taking place with those groups that I've already mentioned. One of the key parts of the campaign is putting angling in the mainstream media and showcasing what it's all about as an activity that a whole family can get involved in. We did a really sort of positive launch the early part of the summer with Jodie Kidd. She brought along her son and her mum to a fishery in Surrey to try fishing with a licensed level 2 angling coach, and had a really enjoyable time. And that actually captured some fantastic images and video content that we're able to use to again highlight what angling's all about and put it in a slightly different way to the way that people stereotype fishing. And we've got some really positive coverage through that, through people. I think the Times covered it and a number of other non-angling publications that were able to utilise that and showcase angling in a really positive way, which helped obviously drive people towards the events that were listed on the Get Fishing website. So it wouldn't be marketing communication sort of topic if I didn't touch on our social media pages. It's important to recognise that the Get Fishing social media pages are very different from those to the Angling Trust. Our audience is people that are either just getting into fishing, have got a little bit of knowledge about fishing, or just getting back into the sport. So we use very sort of simplistic terms, try to avoid too much terminology, and adjust the content to suit. So if you take, for example, the YouTube channel, the Get Fishing YouTube channel, that's got videos about how to set up things like a whip, basic whip kit, a float rod, a feeder rod, those sort of setups are really simple but are useful for people just getting into the sport. The social media pages have been really positive actually, and one of the things that it's a growing area of our work. You can see the reach figure on the slide there, and it is a figure that's growing on a month by month basis. And what we're very aware of is using relatable images to the audience as well, and try to avoid too many stereotypical images that we see all too much, and showcase angling as an activity that anyone can get involved in, as an activity that the whole family can really enjoy and be a part of. So in summary, there's a huge amount of work going on all over the country to get people fishing more often. There's an absolute army of volunteers, again, all over the country, are doing fantastic work to give people the very best introduction to angling. Working with both national and local partners, working collectively, we're able to have a really positive impact rather than people working on their own, working in silos. By having this sort of partnership approach through the Get Fishing campaign, we think we're having a really good impact on people getting involved in fishing, and that level of impact is just growing on a year by year basis. As I mentioned, this campaign is underpinned by both that physical engagement with people at events, giving people the chance to try fishing and giving them the opportunity to learn how to do it and put the kit together and handle the fish, as well as a marketing communications strategy based around engaging a non-angling audience. So there's a huge amount of work going on. Within 20 minutes, it's very difficult to go into too much detail, but hopefully it provided a really useful overview and introduction as to what the Angling Get Fishing campaign is all about. But then my contact details, as I mentioned, there's loads more information on the Get Fishing page of the Angling Trust website, loads of really good news stories and case studies about the fantastic work that the clubs and fisheries all over the country are doing to get people into fishing. It's always important to remember that within angling, someone has taken their time to show you how to fish. My dad took time out to show me how to fish and show me how to fish properly, and I'm starting that journey myself with my little girl to show her how to fish, and I'm absolutely loving the experience. Catching a fish, unbelievable experience, unbelievable feeling, but showing someone how to fish and seeing them catch their first fish is an unforgettable experience, and I would always say that people should do it if they get the chance. And as I said, we're here at the Angling Trust to support people through that process to enable us to get more people fishing more often.